are back live in Jerusalem as South Florida arrives here to celebrate this week's 75th anniversary of the founding of the independence of the State of Israel. And as we try to be everywhere, we also have to be right there in Florida because there is huge news as the legislative session races to a finish. And for that, we turn things over to my colleague Janine Stanwood right there at the big table. Hi, Janine.
Hi, Glenna. Thank you so much. And we're going to check in with you in just a minute. But first, we do have to get to some local news. More wins, of course, for Governor Ron DeSantis this week. In fact, the Board of Education expanded the parental rights and education law, banning lessons on sexual orientation and gender identity. Now in grades K through 12, the exception is sex ed. The House also sending the governor a bill that bans children from adult live performances. Critics say that takes aim at drag shows. And they passed a bill that would make it a misdemeanor for somebody who enters a bathroom that doesn't align with their sex assigned at birth. And there's also a bill that criminalizes gender affirming care to minors. That will be sent back to the Senate for a final vote. So here to sort all of this out are two South Florida lawmakers, State Senator Shevrin Jones, a Democrat from District 34 encompassing Miami Gardens. And we're also joined by State Representative Fabian Basabe, a Republican representing District 106, covering coastal Miami-Dade. Thank you both so much for joining us. Representative Basabe, thank you. I know you were having some technical issues, but it looks like you're getting back there, so thank you so much. We want to start with you right now because you have faced some scrutiny this week, pledging to support the gay community during your campaign, yet supporting legislation that many have said is anti-gay. So what is your response to that?
Well, I think a big part of the problem is the misinformation on the actual bills. A lot of people are focused on the messaging from advocacy groups that are launching this hateful misinformation campaign, but they're not reading the actual bills. And these bills do not target the community. And we as adults have a responsibility. We have a responsibility to interpret these laws in the best interest of our community, not to do this. What's going on right now is a lot of theater. It's horrible. It comes from a bad place. I've done so much to fix these bills to make sure that in no way the language affects the community that I live among and that I love.
Right. What have you done to fix these bills, and what in particular misinformation is out there on that?
Okay, so a lot of people don't really understand the process, right? All these bills go through several committees. And in each committee, you can either decide to just not participate, vote against it, or you can, make an agreement with the sponsor that you will be participating in the language going forward. I voted these bills forward because and as I've stated in all my committee meetings, it's all available on YouTube, that I wanted to work on some of the language that may lend itself to targeting, where it's specifically singling out or mentioning or referencing any member of this community that I love in a way that could be misinterpreted. So the original Parents' Rights and Education Bill had lines 97 to 101. It references the LGBTQ community. And I said, there's no reason to do that. We are all one community. So the language has been modified. The bill has evolved, and it is where it is today. And people haven't taken the time to read the final version. Instead, they are taking, tidbits from misinformation campaigns where every word makes a difference. A may is not a must. A may is not a prohibit.
But it still bans that
no
type of
instruction.
Let me actually get to Senator Jones. I know you're from a different chamber, but I'm sure you have something to say about this. What is your response to what the representative is saying?
Well, I think it's important for us to point out that anti-LGBTQ legislation has taken on several forms across the nation. Over 200 different type of LGBTQ bills have been filed across the country. I think reasonable minds would agree that inappropriate material should not be in libraries, and age-appropriate conversations should be age-appropriate. And reasonable minds will agree on this. But that's just not what we're seeing. What we're seeing is a plethora of these bills that's traveling across the country, and they have reached us here within the Florida House and within the Senate. And what I have told to some of my Republican Senate colleagues is sometimes you have to take a page out of Profiles in Courage and do what is the right thing to do and what you told people that you would do, and not doing what the governor tells you to do or what a leader tells you to do. What is the right thing for you to do?
Senator Jones, let me ask you this also. The people who are supporting some of these rules say, look, can't you be a friend to the gay community? Can't you support the well-being? But in terms of the parental rights in education, can't you say, hey, listen, I don't want gender issues and sex issues to be part of any lesson plan unless it's sex ed? That seems reasonable, no?
Right. No, that's absolutely reasonable. And that's why I say reasonable minds will agree that inappropriate content shouldn't be in our classrooms. And listen, I've made it clear in committee and I've said it on the floor.
Let's keep things PG-13. That's right.
Like I said on the floor, parents have parental rights, are parental rights, and parents should also have the rights if their child is not straight. The gay parents, LGBTQ parents also need those same rights that the mass majority is basically taking away from them.
Representative
a big part
Basabe,
of the issue, I think, if I can just make a comment on that, is I represent a bunch of cities, right? And we don't have our counselors at the schools. They don't have a master's degree in child psychology or early child development. Why are we not putting our attention towards making these resources available? You know, the bills do not target the community. They just do not. That is not how I interpret them. That is not how anyone should be interpreted.
Well, let me ask both of you this.
In fact, Shev, we should talk about what we've done together. Because, you know, the senator and I have co-sponsored, I'm a prime co-sponsor of an HIV infection bill that's making medicine for preventative care and post-exposure care a lot more accessible and available. We've worked on a couple of things. I mean, I have been going cross-party lines to do what we can.
Sure.
But we need to be focusing on making resources like that, but also on proper counseling, proper, outreach, people that know how to handle conversations.
Right,
no
but
child
right
should be
now,
turned
I will
away
just
by
interrupt that Republicans have a supermajority in both chambers, and these are the priorities on the legislative agenda. I will ask both of you, have either of you received calls from constituents with concerns about kids in the classroom or kids in bathrooms? A lot of people, Representative Basabe, have argued these bills aim to fix problems that don't actually exist. What do you say to that?
And what I will point out is that you're absolutely right. A lot of these bills that we have put forth are there's no problem that has been presented. What we're seeing is, again, across the country, that these bills have been coming about in different forms. And I get what my friend and colleague, Representative Basabe, is saying, but within this process, how can anyone enjoy the freedoms of these things that he's calling out and the resources that he's bringing about? If you disrespect individuals' human rights.
One second, because you asked about the calls.
Give me a second. I want to make it clear that
just so you know, we have very little time, 30 seconds left.
Yeah, let's talk
when communities feel attacked, this is what we get. But as legislators, our main goal should be fixing the property insurance rates that we have here. Our main goal should
I
be
agree with that. Can I just throw in something about the calls?
Sea level rise. We need to be doing the things that matter to Floridians.
Okay, Representative Basabe, the floor is yours.
The teachers are concerned that they might not be equipped. You have a math teacher who doesn't necessarily understand gender issues.
You'll never know.
And no child should be turned away. But what they do have a responsibility to do is make sure the child gets the proper attention that they need, and also include the parent in the conversation. It's about partnerships. We are partners in this community in raising our children.
Both of you guys right now, apologies. We do have to end this segment. This conversation, of course, definitely should continue. Thank you so much, both of you, for joining us. We do appreciate it.